Philip Zimbardo, and today we're going to be talking about psychology, specifically memory. What is memory, you might ask? And how do we remember things? How do we download information and bring it back out into the real world? We're going to answer these questions and more on today's episode of Discovering Psychology. Now, memory is the process of learning things over time and encoding, storing, and retrieving them. So, you may ask, what is encoding? Encoding is the downloading of information into the brain. Once we have this information downloaded into our brains, we want to keep it there. That is called storage. The storage of our memories into our brain. And when we want to retrieve the information that we have learned and stored into our brains, we need to do the process of retrieval, which is drawing our stored memories out and using them in the real world. There are two different kinds of memory, long-term and short-term memory. Short-term memory will help you remember things for a short period of time, and it'll stay in your brain for a little bit, just long enough for you to retain that information and use it quickly, but it'll soon dissipate. There are many senses that aid you in short-term memory. Iconic, which uses your eyes, is the sense that helps you remember things that you see for a few seconds. For example, if I glance at this list, I can remember the things that are on it for a few seconds and then I'll forget it. And likely, due to the serial position effect, I'll remember the things that are at the beginning of the list and the end of the list.
Microwave!
My echoic memory will help remember that word, microwave, for a few seconds because I heard it, but it'll soon leave my memory. And my sensory memory will help me remember that this granite is nice and cold, but I'll soon forget that too. And to explain long-term memory, we have with us today Dr. Herman Ebbinghaus, one of my very, very, very old friends.
So long-term memory is when you're going to permanently remember things, and it's the limitless storehouse, which is in your hippocampus. And then to get things in your hippocampus, it's easier to remember things over a long period of time and practice for weeks and weeks and weeks, rather than just cramming all at the last second.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Multiple ways of study. Some are more effective than others. Mallory is practicing for her recall test tomorrow, where she's not going to have a word bank to remember anything, and she's going to have to do it all from what she's learned today.
Albert Bandura, social learning. I thought that was Freud. Wait, isn't everything Freud? Wait, is it an econ test or AP psychology?
And here's Erica, who's practicing distributive practice for a test she has in 3 weeks. That's recognition, so she's going to have a word bank to recognize the words from. Erica is practicing the testing effect because she's testing herself to enhance her knowledge of the information. This is a way to relearn, to go over information multiple times. This helps her to have a deeper processing of the information and know the information rather than a shallow processing where she'll just know where something was on the page.
Two different types of memory encoding: implicit memory and explicit memory. Implicit memory is memories that we have already encoded into our brain that we've done for so many times that it automatically comes to us as we remember it. We don't even have to actively remember it, it's just there. Little girl, can you play a song for me? First president of the United States was?
I remember learning this. George Washington.
Perfect! That's exactly right. This is an example of explicit memory, the conscious activation of your already encoded information in your brain, but you have to actively pull it up. She had to think about the answer before she could tell us, which it was not an automatic response. Now, the memory that's in charge of pulling up those memories is working memory. When you first learn something new, you're not going to automatically remember it. Your working memory helps you work from explicit to implicit memory by working with the problem. Say you have a math problem that you're working on and you need an equation to solve it. You're not going to remember that equation automatically. You're going to have to go back and look at it and use it. And over time, the more you use it and the more you understand it, it will get encoded into your brain and into your implicit memory. So pretty soon, it'll automatically come up and you don't have to think about the equation anymore. Today we're going to be visiting someone who has recently been in a car crash and is now suffering from retrograde amnesia. Ava, can you tell us about your amnesia?
Well, you see, I have retrograde amnesia, which means I can't remember the past, but I can remember the future events. See, I can't remember the day that I got Macy, but I can remember all the cuddles that I will have with her.
How beautiful. Even in the midst of tragedy, we have something so sweet. Now, don't get this confused with interrograde amnesia, in which Ava would not be able to form any new memories about her dog, even though she might be able to remember things of her past. However, just because you can't remember something does not mean you have amnesia. There might be some interference going on. There are two different kinds of interference in your memory. There's retroactive interference and proactive interference. Retroactive interference is when you cannot remember old information because new information you have is blocking that. Now, proactive interference is when you can't remember new information because old information is getting in the way of remembering that. Okay, sometimes our memories blatantly mislead us. Sometimes we think we remember one thing and it was actually another thing. Sometimes we think we got something from one source but we actually got it from another. One of these effects is the misinformation effect, when we think we remember one thing but it was actually another. For example, if I only remember having 2 donuts yesterday, but I actually had 5, that would be misinformation because it wouldn't be the right information. Today we have with us Miss Elizabeth Loftus, who is an expert in memory. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Can you tell us about your studies?
Well, in my experiment, I proved that eyewitnesses can reconstruct their memories after a crime. I used this by using the framing effect with the words smash and hit. There was no glass in the accident. However, when I used the word smash when questioning the eyewitnesses, they reported seeing glass being shattered. But when I used the word hit, they did not report any glass being shattered.
Thank you for your time. Although our memory may seem very sound, sometimes it's full of holes. One other example of misinformation is source amnesia. If I were to remember hearing some juicy gossip about the latest Kardashian scandal on CNN, but I actually read it in a magazine, that would be source amnesia because I could not remember which source I got the information from. Another one is deja vu. If I were to think that I had seen this exact tree and I'd been in this exact spot before, that would be deja vu. That, of course, could not actually happen. I wouldn't have actually been in this exact same spot. I was just in similar circumstances with a similar environment that led me to remember a similar memory. As you can see, memory can be a pretty tricky thing, but we hope you remember some of the things you've learned on this episode of Discovering Psychology, the magic of memory. Say I were to think that I ate 2 nuts. 2 nuts.
Amnesia.
Alliteration. And amnesia, Ava.
Amnesia, Ava.
Ava.